Alright guys, so hopefully this is going to be our last YouTube bid and we'll be back at OCC. Okay, so I think we left off here. So we were doing, let's go back a bit. Major endocrine organs, we were doing the pituitary gland. Remember there's two parts, there's an anterior and a posterior pituitary. We already did the posterior pituitary. Remember there we got two hormones, ADH and oxytocin, and as time was running out, I think I said that they're both neurohormones, hormones released by a neuron. So the posterior pituitary is made of nervous tissue. The anterior pituitary is made of epithelial tissue. Just a note, anterior pituitary hormones are released in response to the stimuli from the hypothalamus. That's one of the things we mentioned that back in, what was that, chapter 11. We talked about one of the functions of the hypothalamus, but it's a major endocrine regulatory system. So here in a minute, or in less than that, we're going to talk about GH growth hormone. So what stimulates the pituitary to release growth hormone is this. Cut and paste there. All right. GHRH from hypothalamus stimulates GH release from the pituitary. So GH is growth hormone. So guess what? GHRH. It's a hormone that causes the release of growth hormone. So growth hormone releasing hormone is a pretty dang good name for that. You guys might remember GnRH from the hypothalamus stimulated FSH and LH from the pituitary. We mentioned that back there somewhere halfway recently. Okay, so here's our, but anyway, any hormone that's coming out of the anterior pituitary has got another hormone from the hypothalamus that's directly stimulating it, and that's the only one we're really going to directly mention. But all right, so growth hormone, GH. If you see that little H in front, there's human growth hormone. And I didn't put the growth on here because it's got growth in its name, but I put some other stuff that it does. So like it stimulates cell division, protein synthesis, increases blood glucose levels. So we're going to mention several hormones that elevate blood glucose levels. And the way it does that is by breaking down glycogen, the storage form of glucose, and tells your cells to like kind of burn fats more instead of burning glucose. So that saves it in the blood. But down here you've got GH and sleep, and cut and paste there. Growth hormone secretion peak occurs during sleep. So maybe one thing that's going on there is, if you sleep, 6-7 hours a night or more, even if you eat something right before you go to bed, it's been several hours by morning since you've had anything to eat. And I think maybe one thing that this hormone is doing is raising those blood sugar levels up, so you kind of don't maybe, crash out at night. You are crashed out at night, but so your blood sugar doesn't crash out at night. All right, so there's growth hormone. We also got TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's such a dang good name. Again, I don't need to tell you anything else, really. So it does what its name says. We'll talk about T3 and T4 here in a little bit, but yeah, it's what it says it is. This one also does exactly what it says it is. It may not be as clear just from looking at the word, though. ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So it says it stimulates the adrenal gland to release another hormone called cortisol. Adrenocorticotropic, if you break up the word, adreno for the adrenal gland, corticals we'll see later is a part of the adrenal gland. It's the outer part of it, where this hormone is produced. And tropic means to act on. So it's a hormone that acts on the adrenal gland. Another darn good name. All right. Luteinizing hormone and FSH. Remember we did those in Anatomy 1, and we mentioned them a couple times in here just minutes ago. But remember, put this on here, guys. Collectively, wherever you want to put it, I'm going to squeeze it in here. I know I'm straddling 2 pages, but LH and FSH are collectively known as the gonadotropins. They're hormones that act on the gonads. Remember, they're stimulated, their release is stimulated from GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. But anyway, they're called the gonadotropins. They act on the gonads, and then just check out what they do. So LH, luteinizing hormone, the names comes from what they do in girls, so it's a good name for females. It's not so much for what it does in males, but both sexes use these hormones. But stimulates hormone production by the gonads. It says it triggers ovulation in girls right when girls peak. You get a huge spike in LH, FSH too, but like a really big spike in LH. Follicle stimulating hormone stimulates gamete formation in both sexes. So, remember, gametes are your sex cells. If you didn't remember that, sperm and egg. So they're reproductive function hormones, I guess, in other words. Prolactin. There's not much you guys have to write here. Maybe not anything, but another good name. Promoting lact milk in substance, a substance that promotes milk. So it stimulates milk production. So during pregnancy, it tells the little glands in there in the breast to start making milk. All right, some pituitary disorders that all involve the, well, you can probably just tell from looking at the names here. This is all going to involve growth hormone. So up here by where it says pituitary dwarfism is kind of, it's kind of a non-PC sort of term now, but so pituitary dwarfism is growth hormone hyposecretion. What is it? Did I spell that wrong? Oh, no, I didn't space it. So growth hormone hyposecretion, so not enough growth hormone in kids. And then those indirectly, but those growth plates don't work so hot, and kids are going to be pretty small in stature. All right, and then here, I'm trying to get rid of this. All right, it says acromegaly, and here it says gigantism, even though I've got it covered up. Gigantism is a growth hormone. Let's put it over here. Gigantism is a growth hormone hypersecretion. Now here I put kids. It at least begins when you're a kid. All that excessive growth hormone, those kind of growth plates and other tissues as well, start to go crazy, so you get some extreme size. In an adult, like my growth plates have sealed, so if I got a growth hormone hypersecretion, I'm not going to get any taller, but I will get definite effects from it. So over here by acromegaly, put growth hormone hypersecretion in adults. And it can be a continuation of the same disorder. It can start when you're a kid and continue through adulthood. So this is a story, other than writing what I cut and paste in here, this is a story best done by pictures. So here, just look. Here, you guys know what guild they represent, I bet. So I'm not sure about these guys, but I've checked out his Wikipedia page. He was alive up till a few years ago, but he had pituitary dwarfism. So he was not a kid when they did this movie. I think he was about probably most of you guys' age. He's probably like 19 or 20 years old, because of the pituitary issues. He was really small in size as an adult. Here's the other extreme. So gigantism. So here it started when he was a kid and continued throughout his life. So Andre, if you guys are a fan of 80s wrestling, or you're seeing The Princess Bride as Andre the Giant, you can kind of get an idea of why he was called that compared to his regular-sized nurse lady over there. And in here, oh, it's kind of hard to get it. Hold on. Well, it's hard to see her. It's really easy to see this nurse, and you can see she's looking up to who was the world's tallest woman. Now, she died recently, so she's no longer the world's tallest woman. I forget how tall she was, but she was in China. Very, very, very tall, as you can see from that picture. Here's a lady who, before her, was the world's tallest woman. She lived in somewhere in Indiana. But one thing to note, guys, it's not just that these ladies were tall. You can't tell how tall she was. She was 7, I forget, 7 something. But besides just being tall, look at something else on her. Look at how broad her face is. Look how broad the nose is. Enlargement of the chin. You see the same thing on the other girl and on Andre the Giant. And that's what you get with acromegaly. So even though, like I said, if I started getting a lot too much growth hormone, I wouldn't get any taller, but I could still get some of these other symptoms. Other tissues will still respond to the growth hormone besides the growth plates in your limbs. So here's a picture that's showing a progression. Now we can't tell height here, but we can tell the acromegaly symptoms. By the way, the word acromegaly means enlarged extremities, and we'll sort of see why that is over here. You get enlargement of the hands and the feet. But look at this girl's face. So this is like, she's like a teenager here, and like 30 here, and like 50 or so over here. And here you really can't tell, really too much. But here you can definitely see the broadening of the nose and the enlargement of the chin. And here even more so. And then she's holding her hands up, and you can see how large those are. Here's another famous guy who had gigantism. He died recently too. He died last year. His name's over here. I wouldn't remember. It's Richard Keel. He was 7 something. And you can tell to some extent he's got maybe enlargement of the jaw and stuff. But he's very, very tall. Here he's from Happy Gilmore. Back in the 70s, he was in some of the Bond movies as a guy named Jaws. Okay. So let's go back over here. All right. We'll probably finish up here with the thyroid gland. All right, thyroid gland produces thyroid hormone, which is 2 iodine-containing hormones, T3 and T4. All right, so by T4, write this. It's called T4 because it's got 4 iodine atoms on it. And this is the main hormone that's released by the thyroid gland. So you can probably guess at least part of what we're going to write down for T3. T3 has got 3 iodine atoms. And here it says it has the strongest physiological effect, so it's a little more potent. So why make 2 different hormones with 2 different potencies? Well, I don't know if this even going to directly answer that question, but there it says target tissues can convert T4 into T3. You can convert the more common hormone into the stronger hormone. So I think sort of if a tissue wants to get a bigger bang for a buck, it can convert the more mild version into the more potent version. They do the same thing though. Again, it's just kind of a matter of potency. But to do it quickly, the function of these hormones, it's a metabolic hormone. Thyroid hormone is a major regulator of our metabolism. So here it says it increases metabolism. You can just say it regulates your metabolism if you want. It's probably a better word. But it does stuff like energy use in the body, like it increases burning of fuel, and that increases oxygen consumption. That increases our body temperature. And down here, we're going to do hyperthyroidism. If hypothyroidism is very common, but the symptoms are kind of going to be just the opposite. So someone that has hyperthyroidism is going to have stuff like this. Weight loss because of the high energy use in their body, insomnia and agitation. Again, it's part of a side effect of maybe the high kind of energy use, the high caloric burning of the body. And in extreme cases, you'll get something called exophthalmos. Exophthalmos. It's protrusion of the eyeballs. Look for a picture in your book, guys. Here's another famous person. You guys might not know who he is. If you've ever seen a movie called Young Frankenstein, his name is Marty Feldman, but he had exophthalmos, which is it's protrusion of the eyeball. Somehow that thyroid hormone makes the fatty pads behind our eyeballs grow, and it kind of like pushes them out like that. And you don't always get that with hyperthyroidism, but I think it's got to be pretty extreme for that to really happen. So again, hypothyroidism, everything's going to be pretty much exactly opposite. So you'll get weight gain, lethargy, stuff like that. Your eyeballs won't sink in, but this part's the opposite. Okay, what else are we going to do? Oops, sorry. There we go. Kind of running out of time, so 1 minute left. All right, here, guys, real quick. Cut and go down here to cretinism. I got 40-some seconds to finish this up. This is kind of becoming people sort of use it as an insulting word, but it's a real medical term, but it's congenital hypothyroidism in infants. And then we really need this thyroid hormone for myelination and other processes, but one of the symptoms among many is you get permanent mental impairment. You get some mental issues with hyper and hypothyroidism, but if you fix the hormone problem, you'll come out of them. But if it happens early in life, that's not necessarily the case. And I'm out of time, and that's it.